Well, it's a great pleasure to be joined today by Thomas Wille, who is a wonderful man who I've known for actually a very long period of time, pretty much from the day I arrived in Denmark about 12, 13 years ago. And Thomas moved a few years ago to Aalborg to plant a church for Vineyard on the other side of Denmark from Copenhagen. And he moved with his lovely wife Inge and their two daughters, Selma and Eleanor. So Thomas, I wondered whether maybe you could tell us a little bit about what you're doing at the moment there and what the city of Aalborg has been like as an experience to move to. And then our topic today is God is at work in all we do. So I kind of just wanted to give you the floor and allow you to share a little bit of your musings. You're a guy who is constantly wrestling with a number of things at any given time. You're always thinking interesting thoughts, in my opinion, and sharing them with us and blessing us with what God's inspiring in your heart and in your mind. And look at the beautiful bookshelf behind you. It just says it all, really. It says everything, doesn't it? You know, I've got a black curtain and you've got about 200 books. And I think that just sums up the intellect level going on here. So how are you, Thomas? And how has it been with this journey of planting in Aalborg?
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad to be here. I mean, it has been an interesting journey. And it's just a little bit about the city. I mean, the place where we live, it's called Aalborg, or the Paris of the North is our nickname.
Yeah.
And I still is wondering why we got that name, but here we are. And it's a very interesting city because it's there's around 200,000 people living here, and yeah, 1/5 of the city is actually students. So it's a big student city. And I mean, back in the days, it was a very like working class city. It was where all the like cement was done and a lot of heavy like steel industry and shipping industry. And now, and also we did the best alcohol in Denmark. Aalborg was it called. And now it has kind of developed into this more like focus on studies, and we have the best like engineering education in all of Northern Europe, I think, and then also culture. So they're trying to shift identity, but you're still, especially in the area where we live, you still have this sense of like working class mentality as well. So it's an interesting city to be in and be part of the development of, you could say, a new city identity. So that's the very interesting thing. And we as a church, we're trying to, yeah, both be kind of, how can we be present in the like more you could say the people that is marginalized, how can we be there, how can we be the good news to them, but also how can we partner with some of the, you could say, some of the more influential people in the city to actually talk to them and with them about how can we imagine this great city of Aalborg. So that is some of the things that we are trying to do here in the city.
Right. And how is, I mean, just we look at the topic like God is at work in all that we do. How is that, you know, that concept, how has that been applied to the way that you've approached moving to Aalborg in a completely foreign city and trying to start something and trying to find, people who share common interests, but also people who are marginalized but then also by the same token, trying to settle as a family and trying to, you know, find your own identity in a new place?
Yeah, I think that, I mean, we moved from Copenhagen, where I was pastoring a good church, and I had a good reputation in the, like, you know, church world.
Yeah.
And then we felt God calling us to plant this vineyard church in Aalborg. And I remember a lot of people saying to me, "Oh, you're so brave and so courageous." And I mean, wow, it's unbelievable that you dare to go to Aalborg to plant a church. And I was probably in my mind, I was thinking, yeah, I'm pretty cool that I'm going up there, and I'm just gonna, you know, we're just gonna kick ass up in Aalborg.
Yeah.
It was just like, I mean, especially the first year was just like very, very interesting and very challenging because, I mean, you come to Aalborg, you have no like relationships, and you're thinking God will certainly bless that we are taking this big step of faith. And I remember after the first year, it was just like, okay, I mean, nobody really came, you know, Christians hang around Christians that wanted to be part of this new thing. I mean, no one really came. Very few people came. And I was thinking after the first year, I mean, why did we leave Copenhagen? I mean, we of course really felt that God was calling us to do it, but I mean, but just I mean, when I looked at the circumstances, I was just like, I mean, this was not what I signed up for, and I cannot even get a small group to grow anymore. I mean, what's going on? And then also, I mean, my identity. He was being lead pastor and had planted a fairly successful church in Copenhagen, and then I just had this sense that I'm like, okay, I'm like, oh, there's nothing here. I mean, that was very, very challenging, and I remember the first. I mean, after the first year, I was just like really, really frustrated and couldn't really put a word to who I was and what I was gonna do. And then I was reading this conversation that Moses had with God after he had been up getting the Ten Commandments, and then he comes down from the mountain, and all the Israelites, they've done this golden calf, and then God asked him to kill 3,000 men, which he does, which is also just insane. And then he had this like friendly, you could say, conversation with God about what's going on, and basically he's saying to God, okay, so God, if anyone comes by this camp right now, I mean, no one will say that you are with us. I mean, they will not say that this is a people blessed by God. I mean, and you are the one that called us out of Egypt. I mean, what are you up to? And I remember reading that and just thinking, yes, exactly, Moses. Exactly. If anyone comes by on Bobina now, they'll just say, this was just a crazy idea that Thomas got. And then he got his family convinced to actually just move with him to Aalborg. I mean, I just had this sense that I know that we say that God is always with us and God is with us in everything. But I just had this sense that, I mean, God, if people came by here, and also my own kind of sense of it all is that, I mean, you are not here. I mean, you are not here. And then God's response to Moses was, but I am here. I mean, he's very like, I mean, how do you say it in English? I mean, he's very cool in his response. He's like very, and just says, I'm here. And then something shifts within Moses, and then he responds, okay, so if you say that you are with us, I refuse to move unless your presence is going with me. And I was just like, I mean, that's a pretty good response, because I mean, all my competences and all my, you know, intellect and all the, you know, all the qualities that I thought that I had as a church planter, I mean, was not really working for me. And I just had the sense that, okay, if I'm gonna do this on the long run, if I'm gonna go after my dream, go after my call, go after what I feel like God is putting in my heart, then I need to have God's presence with me, because otherwise it would just be, you know, a guy from Copenhagen trying to, you know, do some stuff in Aalborg. And so that was like really crucial for me, and really, you could say, a turning point in how I view this thing of being in Aalborg, and we as a family trying to plant a church and do what we think that God is calling us to. That I almost every day start my day with saying, God, today I refuse to move unless your spirit go, or unless your presence goes with me.
Mm.
And actually, you know, saying that to God and believing that is what's gonna happen, because then God responds to Moses, but my presence is going with you.
Mm.
and that, I mean, just yesterday I was at a cafe. I mean, there's very few cool cafes here in Aalborg.
I don't believe that. I don't believe it.
But I was at one yesterday,
Yeah.
and I was having a meeting, and then I had a break, and then I had a coffee before another meeting at the cafe. I mean, because there's all you can drink coffee for 30 kroner. I mean, it's really cheap office space. What's not to like? And then God said to me, hey, the couple that sits over there, I mean, the girl, she has just lost a very important relationship in her life, and I just think that you should go and say that I see her loss, and I'm with her, and then I went over there, and they were very, you know, cool couple, very all boyish kind of couple, you know, and I said, I know this is just so weird, but I'm just sitting here and I'm a Christian. I never play the pastor card because I think that's too easy. So I just say, so I said, hey, I know this is weird, but I mean, I'm a Christian and I believe in God. And when I was just looking at you two guys, not stalking you, but just looking at you, I just had this sense that that God was saying that you've been experienced a big loss, and I just want to say that God is saying to you that He's with you in this loss. And then the girl just got like tears in her eyes and says, "This is so important that I get this message right now."
Wow.
And it's not like I'm seeing, you know, huge revival in Aalborg, but I feel and sense that His presence is with me. So I'm getting more aware of what's going on, and actually taking God up on His promise that He's gonna be with me wherever I move. If I go to a cafe, if I go, I mean, wherever I go, that He's going with me. And that has just been very, yeah. So that has been a very interesting journey to be on over the last, 1 or 2 years, to actually be expecting that God's presence is going with me wherever I am, and trying to respond to His presence. And that has been so lately. I don't know. I'll just riff a little bit,
Please.
but but then lately I've just been thinking about how. I mean, I've been reading some, you know, German sociology. there's, a, there's a German sociologist called Hartmut Rosa, and he's talking about how that the culture and I think especially with the corona and everything that has happened, that we are being alienated from ourselves, from our material things, from our relationships, and we have this sense of not being home, and doing stuff that we don't really want to do. And I've just been thinking over the last couple of weeks that, I mean, a lot of us, especially during maybe this spring with the COVID-19, have had this sense that, hey, we are not really, I mean, we're not really belonging. We're being alienated from everything, and have this fragility in our life. And his response to that is that the antidote for like being alienated or not feeling at home is feeling resonance. That there's something within me that is like resonating with me.
Mm.
And of course he's coming with his like post. I mean, he's saying that art is what can make us feel resonating with stuff, or nature, that's something that can bring us home.
Yeah.
And so I have just taken some of his thoughts and thinking, okay, I mean, nature, art is all part of, you know, the God, the creator, that everything that is being created, that God has put his breath into that. And so I've just been thinking that I think we are all longing to feel some resonance within our soul.
Mm.
And I really think there's a kind of golden opportunity for, because people are right now really feeling this alienation, and I can feel it myself. So I need to let my soul find resonance every morning by looking to God and trying to come into His presence. But it just seems like with the conversations that I have with my friends that don't know God, that what COVID-19 has done to them is really being aware that they're not really at home.
Mm.
And so I just think that there's this thing about learning to communicate God's presence or responding to God's presence is a way of people actually finding resonance and finding home in this time where they can feel that everything is fragile and they're not really at home with their soul.
So if you extend that, how would you then consider an active community of believers to be able to express God's presence in a way that kind of invites people to experience resonance, for example?
I think that, I mean, one of the things that it was a little bit closed down during COVID-19, but there's one girl from our community. I mean, she has done some really great concerts, and she has this project called Go Stå, Stand Still, you can maybe say. And basically, she's written some songs around actually taking the courage to stop and be silent, and not really being and not really having like a big, and now we're going to communicate Jesus, but just have the courage to actually just be still for a moment. And then we have done some living room concerts with that, and that has just been very, very significant how um, that has made resonance with people, that they sense that we are just, living this busy life, and it will take up in speed again. I mean, after summer, all of us have forgotten everything about Corona, and we are gonna speed up again.
Yeah.
I think that is how our whole society is designed. But so to actually create spaces, it can be in our living rooms, it can be out in the public space, where people can actually stop and feel themselves, and actually have the courage to actually just be aware of the moment. Because that's another thing that Hartmut Rosa is saying, is that what is really creating alienation is that we are so not able to actually just be present in the moment, because everything is accelerating in our society, and we always have to be on the move. So he says that one of the things that is really creating this sense of not being home is that we never have time to stop up, because every time we stop, then we are losing the status and the position that we have right now. That we are losing all that we have, worked for, all that we have tried to perform so far. And if we just dare to stop, then we're gonna lose it all, because someone else has taken our place. And so that is one of the things that we really need to kind of have the courage to feel the moment and be present right now, because everything in our society is built to not do that.
I think that's a really profound shift if we can help usher in that concept or that principle of stillness, of allowing space to reflect and allowing space in doing so to hear from God. I think that's a profound change, and it totally flies in the face of what culture would tell us we should be doing, which is, if you have a split second, put your headphones in and listen to that new podcast or whatever you can fill that gap in your schedule with. It's just, noise upon noise upon noise.
The interesting thing is actually that Hartmut Rosa is saying that, it's especially this thing about that you put your music into your ears, so you don't really, he says that it's actually just a distortion of what we are really longing for. Because music and art is creating resonance, but we're just not able to really embrace it. But but we are sticking music into our ears because we are actually longing for the resonance, because there's something within music, there's something within the art that we are longing for. I
Wow.
just think it's very
It's very,
interesting.
but that's an, you know, a pale imitation of the real thing. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's fascinating.
exactly.
Yeah. Um, Final question for you, because I know we're short on time, and it's been really inspiring and challenging to hear from you. I mean, I think one thing that I just wanted to pick up on was on a practical level. We're going to be a lot of people from various regions in the Nordics listening to this, and it sounds super challenging and intimidating, even that story you shared about going up to someone in a cafe and sharing that. Can you just unpack a little bit and maybe demystify something like that? Because obviously you felt prompted by the Holy Spirit to share that with someone, but it sounds like a heroic, bold move. What's been your experience with stepping out and taking what sounds like a monumental risk, but probably in the moment just you've maybe trained yourself to do that? Or how did you how have you learned to do such things?
Yeah, I mean, I'm basing. I mean, there's a couple of things within in this thing. One of the things is that I'm operating out of the 2-inch principle. I mean, if you have your comfort zone, I mean, if could we just move it 2 inches? I mean, could we just like one of the examples I normally give is that, I mean, when I went into the charismatic movement, I mean, I came from a background where we didn't lift our hands, but could I just like maybe just put up my palms like this? Then maybe I mean that would be really brave of me to do that from the background where I came, and and also when I'm on the dance floor, I'm really bad dancer. So if I just I am, but I am. But could I just move my body a little bit more so it gets a little bit out of my comfort zone than what I'm used to?
Yeah.
So first of all, I mean, it all depends on where you are, but
Mm.
don't like go to. I mean, if you think that on a cafe that's totally crazy, then maybe that's not your next step. But finding out what is my comfort zone, and then say, can I challenge myself to actually just like move 2 inches. I mean, expanded 2 inches today. So maybe my comfort zone will be a little. I mean, well, yeah. So that's one thing, and then of course it's also a practice of being aware of the promptings of God, and I just I mean I had a great mentor who once said, I mean we are all, and I also think Mike Pivolacci actually in the last summit said something like it, that he said like, I mean, I'm totally nervous every time I'm giving a word. I mean, I'm like sweating and everything, and I'm just thinking that it's something about we never know if it is true. I mean, we never know, but if I have a sense of something, why don't let the benefit of the doubt? I mean, just get up. I mean, so we get on with it,
Mm.
because I mean, first of all, it's normal. I mean, if you're on a cafe, it's foreign people that you're probably never gonna meet again.
Yeah.
And if you're being a fool, I mean, they have a laugh and they have a good story they can tell their friends. If it is true, it can maybe be significant in their lives. And when it comes to yourself, I mean, you're still loved by God. I mean, no matter what happens when you go there. So for me, it's also like a mindset and says, okay, I mean, it, what kind of prohibit or kind of what kind of hinders to go there is often that we are afraid of what will they think about us.
Yeah.
And I just think that as a Christian, you know that you're loved by God no matter what. I mean, so that will not that will not change whatever happens over there. But it seems like, or maybe this is a little challenging, it seems like our fear of man is just like more important than the love of God to us.
Mm.
So if we could change that mindset and say, hey, I'm loved by God and accepted by God, and that is what gives me identity. So whatever happens when I step up to that couple, I'm still resting in my identity of who I am. And whatever they think about me is not going to affect how I feel about myself. And for me, that has also been a significant kind of significant attitude to have when it comes to this.
I think that's brilliant. I really appreciate the way you demystify that for us, because it's often just taking a practical step and, like you said, finding what your comfort zone is and being willing to inch your way beyond that, and trust that God's at work. So, Thomas, our time is up, but I just, as always, thank you for sharing your wise words and just your incredibly inspiring stories from everyday life. You always have. It's always clear that God's at work in what you're doing, and I just want to say that we're really proud of what you're doing up in Aalborg, and we want to bless you in that, and I pray that you'll be encouraged.
Thank you, and thanks for letting me be on. It's
Of course.
an honor
Of course.
to be